Yo, what is up guys, and welcome back to McAD's Entertainment. I'm your host as always, Adam McGahee. In our last series of videos, we covered the new characters that have been announced so far in the upcoming film Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which is slated to release this September. In our new series of videos, we'll be celebrating the birth of the Marvel Multiverse that was unleashed in the Loki season finale. The events of the series finale are responsible for the main Marvel timeline as we know it to be shattered, leading to unlimited dimensional possibilities. This timeline branch will be explored more in the upcoming Marvel What If animated series, which will show if key timeline events in the MCU were changed, leading to completely different outcomes than what we have seen throughout the years. This series is actually based off a series of comics that started off in the 1970s. Today's video will focus on one of my favorite alternate timeline stories, and that is if Spider-Man never got rid of his iconic black alien costume. As we know, Peter Parker would get the costume from space. For a while, it granted him increased strength, durability, camouflage, and unlimited webbing. However, he would eventually realize that it was a living alien attempting to take over his body and absorb his life force. With the help of the Fantastic Four, it would be removed with the power of a sonic cannon. It would attempt to graft to him one final time before Peter finally had enough and used the sonic vibrations of church bells to seemingly kill the symbiote, permanently removing it from his body. However, this would not be the end of things, as the symbiote would find its way to Peter Parker's disgruntled former co-worker Eddie Brock, who had a personal vendetta against Spider-Man for making him lose his job. The symbiote and Eddie would bond, creating the arch-rival to Spider-Man and now anti-hero known as Venom. However, there is a tale out there in the multiverse in which Spider-Man never removed his alien costume and Venom was never created. So without further ado, let's explore the story of what if the alien costume possessed Spider-Man. The story begins as it does in the normal timeline, with Spider-Man going to the Fantastic Four to see just what was going on with his new suit. As Reed Richards began his test, he would discover that the costume was alive and proceeded to use his sonic cannon to remove the parasite. However, in this timeline, the suit would not leave Peter's body. In this multiverse, the alien had already permanently bonded with him and was fully taking over. Peter writhed in pain on the floor, begging the Fantastic Four to help him. Reed Richards would then turn up the power on the blaster and fire it at Peter once again, knocking he and the symbiote unconscious, both still bonded to each other. The alien-possessed Spider-Man then woke up in a special cell constructed by Reed Richards to contain alien beings. Richards performed countless scientific tests in an attempt to remove the parasite, but sadly to no avail. He then consulted the magical talents of none other than Doctor Strange to see if a more otherworldly tactic would work. However, despite performing spells for hours, not even the Sorcerer Supreme was able to remove the symbiotic suit. After these hours of viciously attacking his hastily created cell, the possessed Spider-Man managed to break out of it, attacking Reed and Strange and escaping the confines of the lab, using its camouflage abilities to hide its presence from all those seeking it. Eventually, Peter would gain temporary control of the alien and use his remaining will to call his girlfriend at the time, the Black Cat, desperately asking for her help. However, during the call, a horrified Black Cat would hear the suit fully take over Spider-Man and in a monstrous voice tell her that he would never return. An enraged Black Cat would then confront Reed Richards for not being able to help Spider-Man, where she would then take things into her own hands to help him. Later on, the Avengers would battle an out-of-control Hulk who was on a rampage in the middle of the city. Since Spider-Man was not there to help in this universe, it meant that countless S.H.I.E.L.D. agents would lose their lives on a nearby skyscraper. A violent one-on-one battle then broke out between Thor and the Hulk in the city streets. Thor would attempt to speak sense into the monster, but Doctor Strange revealed that he was taken over by the villain Nightmare and opened a portal to another dimension where they could banish him until they could get him to return to normal. Just before they could get him through the portal, an alien-possessed Spider-Man would return out of nowhere, knock out Doctor Strange, and engage the mind-controlled Hulk. Upon seeing Spider-Man in this state, the Hulk would break out of his control and actually feel fear for the first time in his life. Spider-Man would leap onto the Hulk, the symbiote oozing off his body and flowing onto the giant. The Hulk would scream in pain as the other Avengers came to aid the wounded Spider-Man, only to notice that his body was aged and shriveled to the point of an 80-year-old man. The symbiote would then fully take over the Hulk, where an evil smile formed over his face and escaped the heroes once again. A wounded but alive Spider-Man would then recover at Avengers Mansion, where he revealed just what had happened to him. While he was in hiding, the alien had zapped him of all of his youth and strength, and now sought its next host, which he found in the Hulk, and will soon look for his next target. Infuriated at what the suit did to the man she loved, Black Cat vowed to kill it, even if it meant ending the life of the Hulk and Bruce Banner. Knowing he was on borrowed time, Peter would later visit the home of his Aunt May. Knowing he could not tell her the truth of what happened, Peter told her he was a colleague of Peter's and how much he loved his aunt. Saddened by this visit, Aunt May spoke to Mary Jane about it, getting the feeling she would never see Peter again. The next day at the Avengers Mansion, Reed Richards went to inform Peter of an exciting update he made in tracking down the alien-possessed Hulk. But much to his horror, he discovered that Peter, Spider-Man, had died. The last of his energy had finally left his body. The Avengers would proceed to have a funeral for the fallen hero, honoring the good man that Peter was. A heartbroken Black Cat was then approached by none other than the Kingpin, who also came to pay respects to the fallen hero. An obsessed Reed Richards would spend the next several days looking for a way to rid the world of the creature. He came to discover the remaining scientific notes left by Peter, which helped him use Peter's blood sample and that of the Hulk's to track the alien down and even form a weapon capable of killing it. The Avengers tracked the alien down to Mount Rushmore, where they went to finally put an end to things. Thor would be the first to encounter the creature, who attempted to trick the Thunder God into thinking that it would leave peacefully. This ended up being a ruse, and the two engaged in battle. Thor would whip his hammer at the Hulk, causing the symbiote to melt off his body, seemingly dying on the spot. Much to his surprise, the Hulk reverted back to none other than Bruce Banner. Believing the creature to be dead, Thor looked on at the remains of the ooze caked around his hammer. Suddenly, the symbiote sprang back to life, another trick that it devised to steal the power of the god. Thor would then call on the power of lightning to come down to strike him and the symbiote. However, this only weakened him as the alien proceeded to take control of him even more. Reed Richards would then fire his new sonic cannon at the possessed Thor, but his power fused with the alien proved too much for the weapon to have an effect. The nearly fully possessed Asgardian would then mock the Avengers for trying to defeat him and then escape to a nearby cave so he could let the fusion complete, so he would come back and kill them all. Having one final backup plan to enact, Reed Richards then contacted the Eternal Black Bolt, who transported to the scene of the battle. Black Bolt then used his godly power of his hypersonic scream and pointed it directly at the Asgardian, dissolving the symbiote right from his body. The god screamed so loud that it destroyed Mount Rushmore itself. This godly power had proved to be successful. Thor was free of the creature's control as its slimy ruined residue laid on the ground. Doctor Strange attempted to transport it to another realm. However, a stream of fire shot from above, melting its remains and permanently ending the life of the parasite. This fire came from none other than Black Cat, who did not want its horrible power to harm anyone else. She proceeded to call the Avengers cowards for not doing what it took to kill the alien and save Spider-Man, the man she loved. With tears in her eyes, she would walk away, never to be seen again. And that is the dark conclusion of one of our first tales from the Marvel Multiverse. I cannot wait to see stories like this in animated form when the series comes to Disney+. The Alien Suit Saga is one of my favorites from the comics, and I hope we get to see it sometime soon in the MCU. With all of these multiversal projects underway, it just might be a possibility. Now, what are your thoughts on this? Had you read this What If story? Do you like this format of videos? And what other comics and stories would you like us to cover? Sound off in the comments. Also, be sure to give this video a like if you enjoyed today's content, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon to be notified of all of our latest videos. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you are awesome and loved. God bless, and I will see you in the next one.